and it is your final edition of Circle Notes. Notes titled 12-7, Segments in Circles. Let's get started. We have three more relationships we're going to talk about with segments and circles. Okay, the first relationship is two chords. The second relationship is two secants, and the final relationship is with a tangent and a secant together. As you can see, in this circle I have two chords, I have two secants together, and I have a tangent and a secant here. All right? Now, the relationship is, if for both of these chords, they're not congruent to each other, okay? And a lot of times I see students trying to set things congruent to each other. These are not congruent to each other by themselves, but if we multiply each piece of the chords, they're congruent to each other. So the way I'm going to write that is this one chord over here is split into two segments. I'm going to call them segment A and segment B. All right, my other chord is split into two segments as well, so I'm going to call it segment C and segment D. If I multiply together the pieces of each chord, they are equal to each other. So if I multiply A times B, that is equal to C times D. Okay, two chords in a circle. This relationship is always true. Next relationship with two secants. We know what a secant is. A secant is a line that crosses through a circle at 2 points. All right, so my first secant here, it has two segments as well with that. And I'm going to label each segment something different. I'm going to call the segment that's inside the circle W. The segment that's outside the circle label that X. Okay, a second secant has two spots where it intersects the circle. I'm going to call this segment outside the circle Y, the segment inside the circle Z. Okay, and here's the relationship that exists with two secants together. If I multiply the outside piece times the total of one secant, it's equal to the outside piece times the total of the other secant. Okay, so again, the outside piece here is X. If I multiply the X times the total, now the total is what I have for W and what I have for X, so I need to add those together. So X times W plus X is going to be equal to, on the second secant, the outside Y times the total, which would be Y plus Z. Okay, so there's a formula or a rule or a principle. It's always true with two secants. Now, that's kind of hard to remember, right? So there's a better way to write that down. I'm going to write that down that with the secants, I have the outside times the total is equal to the outside times the total. Okay, important way. I write this down. Outside times the total is equal to the outside times the total. Okay, we'll add that to it. Very important. And lastly, if we have a tangent and a secant together, a tangent, remember, is just a line that intersects a circle at exactly 1 point. Our last segments, notes were on tangents. Okay, and I'm going to call that tangent then T. And then I have a secant, which again intersects here at 2 points. Okay, I'm going to call that one, like I called the secant over here, I'm going to call it W and X. W and X. And in fact, this same exact relationship exists with a tangent and a secant that exists with two secants, being that the outside times the total is equal to the outside times the total. In this case, though, for our tangent, the tangent is the outside, and the outside is a total as well. So I just multiply the tangent times the tangent. Tangent times tangent will give me tangent squared. Okay? So outside times the total equals the outside times the total again, X times W plus X. Okay, that's important. So there's the three relationships, and I'll give you an example of each one as they work. But remember, outside times the total equals outside times the total will apply to both the two secants and the tangent secant together. Okay, here are the examples. Again, if you want to pause the video, copy these down so you can have them with us. The first one, and now it's important to recognize, what am I given? Okay, what am I given inside of this circle here? Well, I have a tangent and I have a secant. So if you write that down, tangent and a secant relationship. Okay, then I can realize, well, the tangent and secant, this is what I do. Outside times the total equals outside times the total, which is tangent squared equals the outside times total. Again, I feel like I'm saying that a lot. All right, here's my tangent right here. So multiply that times itself. So 15 squared is equal to the outside, which would be 9, times the total here. I got to add these together, 9 plus x. It's not just x, it's 9 plus x. Okay, and then solve for x. So I got 15 squared, which would give me 225. I need to distribute my 9. 9 times 9 is 81, plus plus 9x. Okay, subtract the 81 over. So I've got 144 equals 9x. Divide that 9, so x gives me a value of 16. Okay, so 16 there. Example B. I have two chords. Okay, and the relationship there is if I multiply each piece of the chord times each other is equal to the other two pieces times each other. Okay, I've got 5 here and x plus 1, and then I've got 4 there and x plus 3. Multiply them both together and then they're equal. So 5 times x plus 1 is equal to the 4 times x plus 3. And then just solve for x. Now I got to distribute twice here, 5 times that and then also the 4. So 5x plus 5 equals 4x plus 12. Subtract that 4x over, so I just have x plus 5 equals 12. Subtract that 5 over, so I have x equals 7. Easy schmeezy, all right? And again, if I would plug that back in here, I've got 5 times 8, which would be 40, is equal to 4 times 10, which is also 40. They're equal to each other. And last example. This one I have two secants. Okay? And in my two secants, again, I'll say it one more time, outside times total equals outside times total. The outside is 5 times my total, 5 plus x, is equal to my outside 4 times my total. In this case, I can add 4 and 6 together to get 10. Distribute my 5. So I have 25 plus 5x equals 40. Subtract that 25 over, so I have 5x equals 15. Divide by 5, so x has a value of 3. Okay, so remember the relationships that we have for secants in circles and how they are used. Make sure you bring these notes to class. Make sure you fill out your WSQ. Have a great day.